Hello, I'm Jester Borris with I Want to Be a GM, and welcome to D&D Through the Ages Part 1. This video series explores the differences in the Dungeons & Dragons editions. We start with the White Box from 1974, and we go all the way through Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, the game that we're all playing today. This video is broken into 6 separate chapters, and it's taken from one of our more recent live streams. If you enjoy this video, we hope that you'll give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content from us, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. As always, we welcome your questions and comments, and so what we'd like to know with this video is what's your favorite edition if you've been playing for a long time. I really enjoyed 2nd, I've also played a lot of 3rd, and there's a lot of people out there playing 5th edition. And if you haven't played much more outside of 5th edition, let us know what you're playing currently. We always like to hear what's going on out there. If you'd like to find the places where we hang out, be sure to check the social links in the video description. In particular, we've got a fairly active Discord, and so if you'd like to join the growing community of game masters over there, you can hop onto Discord and share your best tips, tricks, and stories. We'd love to have you. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy the video, and until next time, I'm Jester Borris with I Want to Be a GM. Stay safe and have fun. Hey everybody, welcome to the stream. We're the team from I Want to Be a GM. I'm Jester Borris.
There's Troy. A lot of my friends call me the Planescape guy.
Woo! And if you're with us today, that means you're here for Through the Ages Part 1.
Part 1!
Of a 5-part video series.
That was 6.
I will do it.
I can't count.
It's the number of... Anyway, it's good.
Yeah. So we're going to go through the ages, starting with the White Box set. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th edition. And look at a few different things, how the game changed over the years.
That's right.
And some of them, I keep finding them more and more interesting, how things changed a little here, and some things absolutely got blown up.
Yeah, some mechanics didn't exist. Some mechanics have changed completely.
Yep.
And other things have been changed just slightly by addition. So stick with us as we get this stuff put together. We're going to be going with the books themselves. And we're just going to have a good time today. So if you have any questions, be sure to participate in chat, follow the channel, or more importantly, subscribe. And, let us know what you want to see as we start to break these books out for you.
Today, I do want to encourage you to please chat, ask a question, or if you have, because I can hold up the book so we can actually look up something in them. If you have a question about a specific character, class, race, skill, weapon type, what have you, I'll just pull it right out of the book and we'll talk about it. So be sure and do that. We got our Mr. Producer here today, so he's running the cameras as well as watching the chat. I think he's a little task heavy. He looks funny with the headphones on there.
Yeah,
so,
and he's got us in some weird...
He's got the camera set up kind of odd, but anyway.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to have Troy, if you could start, tell us what you got on the pedestal over there.
Well, starting with the White Box release from 1974. Yes, I did say 1974. This game is that's when it came out, and a lot of the younger people that are playing it in 5th edition, some of the times we go somewhere and talk with them about things in the game that I know and love about it. They look at me like I was strange because I'm so old. However, I do want to we're going to go through all of them. So the White Box, as it was originally released in 1974, had 3 booklets and 1 set of reference sheets.
Now, the reference sheets aren't what you would expect of the modern Dungeon Master's Guide. In fact, the term Dungeon Master didn't even exist in the White Box, did it, Troy?
In the White Box, they were called a referee, which it makes several references to how you run the game, and you're in control here, and you do this and that. But the referee had a more casual kind of agreement with the players.
One of the things that's interesting, too, is the White Box will refer to the Chainmail rules, which we'll be showing you here in a moment. And that was meant for large-scale army battles. And so you didn't have a dungeon master, you had a ref.
Right.
It'd be similar to what you would see in a Warhammer game or something along those lines.
Right, so the Chainmail rules were written for prior to D&D coming out, actually.
Yeah, TSR.
It was for miniature combat for like Civil War reenactors or let's see. Okay, Warhammer, but with muskets. So all your early Napoleon Wars, the Revolutionary War, Civil Wars, all of those kind of wars, going back even to days of castle sieges with catapults and trebuchets. So the chainmail was written for combat, for miniatures. So it has anything and everything in there, and I think they're still viable and usable today. So if you happen to find these somewhere, check them out. But they do have anything and everything in them that you would use for combat, including melee, one-on-one, up to armies.
Yeah.
So
siege engines and all the stuff that
you see, I got some tabs on here. So I'm going to start with one of my favorite things that I researched, how it changed through the years. We'll start with initiative. So initiative, everybody figures out how to, what order is combat. So you versus the monsters, who's going to go first? That's very important because whoever gets the drop on whoever is the one that has an opportunity to win the fight. So in Chainmail, there's a series of things, because remember, this is written for large scale combat as well as melee, or one-on-one. But its concern is who has the greater range. So if I'm firing a cannon, I have greater range. So your musket is going to have to wait. I get to fire my cannons first. Mm-hmm. So that kind of thing. And then in melee combat, they apply the same thing to initiative.
Yeah, they break it down more in like a turn order. So we've got cannons before
archers before
go
muskets.
With mages if they're firing fireball and lightning bolt, those large effect. And then you get down eventually, like if you're the fighter, you go last because everything else has happened. They go by range. So longest range to shortest range, obviously cannon down to sword. So
in the man-to-man combat, again, we're going missile fire, and it worries about it breaks it down into the ranges again. So if I'm shooting ballista, archery, and then spells, whatever has the greater range, and then man-on-man with sword and axe kind of comes up last, and they don't really get into there as to if it's me and you, who's going to go first.
Well, show that off a little bit too, Troy. We got some pretty neat artwork, and
where am I at?
You're there.
What camera am I on, Mr. Producer? There we go. I can see.
Yeah,
okay.
Camera you. So, definitely a different style of system, but really, really quite interesting when you get into all of it.
Absolutely. So moving on. One of the spells that everybody loves to use. I think sometimes it's overused, but everybody loves it. Let's see. I'm thinking Fireball. So again, let's go to Men in Magic. So in Men in Magic, that's just what this one of the books. It's about your character, how you develop your character. And in the original box set, you had 3 classes to choose from: a fighter, a magic user, a cleric. That was it.
Yeah.
So you had to be one of those 3. In fact, the thief didn't come out until the blue box. So you'll see that here in a little bit. So here are the Men in Magic. So one of the things it talks about here is also spells, and it describes it, but also you have to go back to Chainmail rules to see about Fireball. So a wizard can throw one of type missiles, a fireball equal to the hit area of a large catapult or a lightning bolt. So with an attack value equal to the heavy field gun, these missiles will destroy any men or creatures that are struck by them in the area of effect. So there you go. So in the white box, I'm going to cast Fireball. I'm destroying the building. I'm destroying you and the guy next to you. Destroyed. You're done. Next. Next one. Oh, this is cool.
What do we got there now?
So still in Chainmail.
Yeah.
Let's talk about dragons. Okay, so that's in my mind. Well, the game is named after him, Dungeons and Dragons. And dragons are the most feared creature, or should be the most feared creature in the game. And if your party come across a dragon in one of my games, someone is going to die, and they're not going to be able to be resurrected because they're going to be chewed, stomped, disassembled, or however you want to say it. Dragons are feared everywhere, and with good reason. We deal here with the great red dragon, Draco Conflagratio.
Dragon.
I can't pronounce it. It's Latin, I guess. Dragons can see equally in darkness and in light. They cause enemy troops within 15 feet of them to check their morale. Dragons have the power to detect any hidden or invisible enemies within 15 feet. They can fly 25 per turn and remain aloft indefinitely. They go on and on with the dragons. Their description here is very lethal. I love these old books. So we're spending some time talking on combat because we're in the chainmail.
Yeah.
We'll talk about some combat tables because they do have those.
Is that going to be some of the things that you'd see duplicated in the reference sheets, or are those separate tables?
Some of them are kind of referenced.
Mm-hmm.
The ones in the actual reference are. Let's just go through some of them real quickly.
Okay.
You would see these first and second edition. You would see some of these in the Player's Handbook. You see some of these in the Dungeon Master's Guide, such as armor class attacks, monsters attacks, saving throws.
I set that up on the pedestal for everybody to see.
Let's see if I can get it through here.
Yeah, just to give them an idea what they got going on.
Type of armor. You can see it's falling apart because of its age, kind of like me. And different charts.
Yeah, the reference sheets was really just a book of reference.
It was.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff in these different books are talked about, and they're not really given a kind of a chart. Like a lot of us who like the numbers part of the game want to have charts and tables to help explain to us the math and how to make the math easier and faster and take up less cumbersome time on the game table.
Well, that's one of the things that we found in trying to put this video series together. For a while, we didn't think that clerics could turn undead in the white box because it was 30 pages separated from what the cleric description was. Yeah, so there's older books definitely had quite a bit. Their layout was a little bit more scattered, with a lot of cross-referencing. So it was one of those games you definitely needed the complete set, and to have read. You need to have read all the books cover to cover to sort of understand what book to look in, so that you could arbitrate the rules.
So in our original set, we got these three and the references. Excuse me. So there are 6 other books that came with, or not came with.
Yeah, these were
sold separately.
Batteries not included.
This one, Sword and Spells. Anybody guess what this book covers? Combat.
Monsters. No.
Yeah, the whole book is basically combat. Again, it's written kind of as a supplement to the chainmail rules, as well as melee combat, individual, everything from how to shooting a bow, swinging a sword, casting spells, blah blah blah.
Right.
So, and halfway in the book, it gets into melee. Melee combat is your face-to-face fighting, duking it out. So that's, again, most of that, though, is what we call the Dungeon Master's Guide, where you start talking about how to actually get into the nuts and bolts of the fight, the fight.
Yeah, when it comes down to the combat turn, how do you determine order, and what actions?
Who goes when?
Mm-hmm. And that's evolved quite a lot. And we see the action economy of 5th edition. It's something that gets talked about quite a lot from people that are trying to maximize the potential of their character classes. But they had its own book here in the white box, and that was just one. So what else we got there now, Troy?
So Supplemental 1, which is entitled Greyhawk, but don't get too excited. There's a world setting done by Gary Gygax for 1st edition. They call it Greyhawk. That's not what this is about. this covers as updated rule changes to combat for the NPC and PC characters, as well as more treasure and monsters. Because we never have enough monsters, right? That's supplemental 1. Supplemental 2 is called Blackmoor. Blackmoor, there's an area in the continent of Greyhawk.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of adventures written around it. And there's some really cool wars that are written there. But that's not what this is about either. So this one is monsters and treasure. But I do want to show you this. I haven't found it. I know I got this module somewhere. But it's called Temple of the Frog.
No, wait, I've got it right now.
You got it.
Yeah.
What are you doing with it?
As part of our research for the next series.
Damn kids. Okay, so this one actually has that adventure in it, and it's what's called a module. So it's a pre-written, store-bought adventure. It has everything in it you need, from the description of the monsters, the treasure, maps of how to get around, and just it's the whole reason why you're there. So that's actually in Blackmoor. So Supplemental 3. Supplemental 3 gets into something that me as a player, when I first got introduced to him, I didn't really care for him. And me as a DM, I make it completely optional to the players, because if the players have this skill or talent, the monsters will have this skill and talent. So I try to keep it completely out, because to me, it can seriously unbalance the game. Psionics is where you use your brain and you attack people. And like creatures like Iliads and mind flayers want to come eat it. So this gets into psionics. So we got a lot of combat dealing with that. And it also gets into demons descriptions. And we got some fabulous, expensive artwork here. You can't get that kind of artwork for nothing, guys. And it also gets us some treasure. Now,
you got to slow down just a little bit.
What?
When you're flashing the books.
I didn't flash the book. I showed the book. You want to see it again? If I flash the book, that means I'm taking my pants off.
Right. But it's just one of the
charge for that.
So there's some demons, and they have their complete monster write-up on them as individual creatures. Excuse me. Like the demon princess and Demigorgon.
yeah, repopularized in Stranger Things.
Yeah. How about that, Eric? Can I do that? Yeah, okay.
There he is.
I do want to get us some of this treasure, though, because this is 1970s, all these white boxes, and I was got a little nostalgic. I was like, wow, that magic item existed then. So I'm gonna name off some of these, see if any of you recognize them. The Axe of the Dwarvish Lords, the Mace of Cuthbert from Greyhawk,
right in there.
the Wand of Orcus, the Rod of Seven Parts, the Hand and Eye of Vecna, and Baba Yaga's Hut from 1970s. So you have the write-ups on them in here. An Eldritch Wizardry. Yep. So that's another one. And this one kind of crossed right into the hardback books with first edition. Gods and demigods, heroes, or put it here. So this is basically all your gods, heroes, their write-ups, their spells, their items, their weapons, what's their area of control, and blah, blah, blah.
So that's, with all the expansions, that would be the complete white box release from Dungeons and Dragons. So these books are...
Odin.
They've been through several reprints. Actually, the most recent one that I could find for a reprint was 2013. So if you guys are interested in picking up some of the rules or some of these books as part of your collection, it's not impossible. And some of the more recent reprints will be in pretty good shape. So it was just really interesting. What we've established here in the white box set is the core mechanics the core themes that are still in D&D today. Dragons, elves, dwarves, swords, some of the base magic, some of the base lore, the demons,
Yep.
all that sort of stuff that as we're writing stories, playing modules, going through our homebrew, I mean, those elements are still in the game today. So
Every bit of it.
Been really cool to see where that core spirit is still with us.
There hasn't really been changes to the core of descriptions of things, but there have been a lot of things added to.
Yeah, lots of expansion for sure.
Lots of expansion. In the Men and Monsters, or the Men and Magic here, the dwarf write-up is about 5 lines, and that's the complete write-up on a dwarf. Whereas when you get, by the time you get to second edition, you have an entire book that's all dwarves.
Yeah,
so there's added, lots and lots added to, lots of great artwork added to it. So when you, by the time you got a few years behind you, you knew what a dwarf was, you knew what they looked like, you knew what they ate, you knew all of those different things.
Yeah. So what are some of the we've got like an overview now of the white box. Let's mention some of the specifics here. Ooh. So we had, as Troy mentioned earlier, three whole character classes. You could be a fighter, a wizard, or a cleric, and that was it.
That was it.
You know, certain things now where we've got multiple spellcasters. We're dealing with sorcerers and warlocks. Paladins and clerics are two sides of the same coin sort of thing. Not in the white box. It was very much straightforward. And one of the things that we also saw that doesn't exist in the game today was different limits per class by race.
Yes. Well, they do. That's one of those things that's changed over the years.
Right. Third edition got rid of a lot of that.
Yeah.
It was through first and second. But as an example, an elf could only be about 3 or 4 level fighting man, but he could be a 6th or 7th level wizard, and had the ability to choose what class they wanted, but they had to stick with it for the entire game session. Right. So today I'm a fighter, next time I'm a wizard. But that concept, as it's introduced, is your first dual class fighter magic user, a staple of the game. So now we've got.
So right here in Men in Magic, page 6, I'll just highlight some of it real quick. There are 3 main character classes: a fighting man, that's what they're calling them, a magic user, and a cleric, and that's it. And they have very short descriptions on each class. That's it, totally. Very short descriptions. So you're a fighting man, and then we go to at the bottom of the next page. You start with dwarf. A dwarf.
Set that up on the. Let them see how much. I mean, it's literally half a paragraph.
Yeah. So over here we start with a dwarf. There's our descriptions of a fighter, magic user, and cleric. And then we have a dwarf. You can see there's not a whole lot of description of a dwarf. They're short and stinky. I think it's about what they decide on.
One of the things that's also really striking is the inspirational content that a lot of borrowed sort of lore or background for the white box is right out of Tolkien.
Oh, absolutely. And its description of the orc is one that they talk about them being a very tribal monster. And when we classify them as a monster, but the way they're written about, the way Tolkien wrote about them, is to make them more of a tribal creature, almost like the American Indian, because they have their own culture. Or they have a hierarchy with the chieftain and their fighters, and talk about encountering them in a dungeon setting where that's where they live. You know, they dug out a cave and lived in it, or they even built a city fort and encampments. So he definitely saw the orc as a more of a
well, they're an intelligent, monstrous race. And because of that, they had culture and things, and so those nods were really cool to see in the white box. Very often you have a random encounter where you encounter some orcs in the woods, and there's a fight, you get some gold, and you move on, which is not necessarily bad. It was just nice to find that not all the monsters in the early editions, at least, were throwaway. And particularly where we've got so many great half orc and full orc characters that are running around out there saving the different universes. So, if you've got a half orc barbarian in your game, that guy has his roots in the white box. So they've been around.
There's so many that, as I was doing this research, put this all together, everything I found in the later editions, it could directly tie back to even a very small description in one of the books from the white box. Just everything.
But it's really interesting because we'll go from here. You'll see first and second, and that was all under TSR's umbrella. But when Wizards of the Coast bought the Dungeons and Dragons, they bought essentially TSR, and we got third edition when Wizards of the Coast took over. They didn't change a lot of the core. They changed the mechanics for sure. It was a different game altogether. But it's one of those things that's still nice to see. There was such a strong core that was developed in the first and second edition as they came through that we're able to use that now. We were able to benefit from all that, and it's nice to see it stay there in fifth edition. I think it's one of the things that makes the game such a great game to play.
Oh, absolutely. I love it.
Well,
I've been playing for a really long time. So I think that pretty much covers everything that's in the white box set. Everybody understands the game. Yeah. And these are the resources that you had to play it. These are the books that described everything in it that you would have used to play the game. Has anybody typed in any kind of questions or anything over there?
No questions just yet, but we do have people joining.
Excellent.
Sweet, sweet.
Welcome to the stream. If you guys are just joining us, I'm Jester Borris, and with me today,
I'm Troy.
We are from I Want to Be a GM. Our group does events like this where we talk D&D. We help GMs improve their game. So you can find us over at our Discord. We've got the I Want to Be a GM Discord link on our Twitch page. And you can also find our videos over on YouTube, also at I Want to Be a GM. So we've got a few past streams and a couple things as we're establishing some more digital content. We've done a lot with the local game stores to support our local community, and we hope that you're doing the same. So we just want to say welcome. We're glad to have you. Let us know if you have any questions. We've got all the books, and we can pull any of these open at any time if you want to see something in particular. So just let us know. With that, though, we've just about covered all of the white box, and we're going to need to take a break soon so we can get the first edition books out and start to go through that for you guys. We're going to see a lot of changes coming in. It's not even necessarily first edition. I don't think first edition was the nomenclature until we got advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
That is correct.
We're going to jump into the red box and that series of expansions.
Yep, the 5-box set came up next.
Yeah, so take a look there. Maybe join us on Discord, or you follow or subscribe here so that you don't miss out. And we'll be back in just a few minutes. So get ready as we get ready to dive into the 5-box set, and let us know if there's anything in particular that you want us to go back over, or that you want to see as we go through the rest of the editions coming up.